Most people don't wake up one morning and decide they want to stay broke. Nobody sits on the edge of their bed and says, "You know what? I'd love to spend the next 10 years worrying about money." Nobody dreams about checking their bank account before buying something simple. Nobody dreams about making decent money and still feeling stuck. Nobody dreams about reaching the end of every month wondering where everything went. And yet that's exactly where millions of people find themselves. Not because they aren't working hard, not because they don't have goals, not because they don't want a better life, but because financial struggles are rarely caused by one giant mistake. Most of the time they're caused by habits, small habits, ordinary habits, habits that seem harmless in the moment, the kind of habits that don't feel important enough to question. And that's exactly what makes them dangerous. Because money doesn't usually change your life overnight. It changes your life gradually. One decision at a time, one purchase at a time, one habit at a time. The scary part is that you can repeat a bad habit for years before you finally notice the damage it's causing. By then, what felt small has become expensive. What felt normal has become a problem. And what felt harmless has quietly shaped your financial future. So let's talk about 12 money habits that keep people broke. Not because they're dramatic, but because they're incredibly common. And the first one starts before most people even realize what's happening. 1. Spending future money before you earn it. Imagine getting paid on Friday. You work all month. You put in the hours. You deal with the stress. You earn your paycheck. But before the money even reaches your account, part of it already belongs to someone else. The car payment is waiting. The credit card bill is waiting. The loan is waiting. The financing plan is waiting. The subscriptions are waiting. Everybody wants their share. And suddenly, the paycheck that looked so promising feels much smaller than expected. This is one of the biggest traps in modern finance. Because companies have become incredibly good at making expensive things feel affordable. Instead of talking about total cost, they talk about monthly payments. Instead of talking about the full price, they talk about how little it costs today. And that's how people slowly begin spending money they haven't earned yet. At first it feels harmless. One payment, then another, then another. Nothing seems dangerous, but eventually your future income becomes crowded with obligations. You wake up one day and realize that most of the money you're about to earn has already been assigned somewhere else. And that's when financial freedom starts disappearing. Because every payment reduces your flexibility. Every payment limits your options. Every payment takes a little bit of control away from your future. 2. Treating every raise like permission to spend more. Most people believe their financial problems will disappear once they earn more money. And for a while, that feels true. You get a raise. You get a promotion. You start making more than you've ever made before. You feel successful. You feel excited. You feel like things are finally changing. Then something interesting happens. The spending starts growing too. The apartment gets upgraded. The car gets upgraded. The phone gets upgraded. The lifestyle gets upgraded. And before long, the extra income disappears. Not because the raise was small, but because every increase in income was matched by an increase in expenses. This is why some people earn twice as much as they did 5 years ago and still feel financially stressed. The income changed, but the habits didn't. The truth is that a raise only changes your life if part of it stays in your life. If every dollar immediately gets spent, then the raise becomes temporary excitement rather than long-term progress. And that's how people end up earning more than ever while feeling no closer to wealth. 3. Buying things to impress people who aren't paying attention. This habit is incredibly expensive. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. Think about how often purchases are influenced by other people. Not because we need something, but because we like what it says about us. The nicer car, the expensive watch, the designer clothing, the latest gadgets, the luxury lifestyle, the image, the appearance, the feeling of looking successful. The strange thing is that most people are too busy thinking about their own lives to spend much time thinking about yours. They might notice your purchase for a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. Then they move on. But you remain responsible for the cost. You remain responsible for the payment. You remain responsible for the financial consequences. That's a terrible trade. Years of financial pressure in exchange for a few moments of attention. The people who build real wealth understand something important. Looking wealthy and being wealthy are not the same thing. In fact, they're often moving in opposite directions. 4. Never knowing where your money goes. Have you ever reached the end of the month and wondered where everything went? Most people have. The paycheck arrives, life happens, bills get paid, purchases get made, and somehow the money disappears. Not because there was one huge expense, but because there were hundreds of small ones. Money has a way of leaving quietly when nobody is paying attention. A meal here, a subscription there, an impulse purchase, a delivery fee, a convenience charge. None of them seem significant, but together they tell a story. And if you don't know that story, it's difficult to improve it. The goal isn't to become obsessed with every dollar. The goal is awareness. Because people often spend years trying to solve financial problems without first understanding where the money is actually going. And that's like trying to fix a leak without knowing where the water is escaping. 5. Waiting for motivation. One of the biggest mistakes people make with money is treating financial progress like a mood. They save when they feel motivated. They budget when they feel motivated. They invest when they feel motivated. Then motivation disappears. And so do the habits. The problem is that motivation is unreliable. Some days you'll have it. Some days you won't. Wealth doesn't care how motivated you feel. Wealth responds to consistency. The person who invests small amounts month after month often beats the person waiting for the perfect moment. The person who saves consistently often beats the person making occasional grand plans. Because financial success isn't usually built on inspiration. It's built on repetition. The things you continue doing long after the excitement disappears. 6. Ignoring small expenses. Because they're small. Many people laugh when they hear discussions about small spending. And to be fair, one coffee isn't going to make anyone poor. One small purchase won't destroy your finances. That's not the point. The point is behavior. Because spending habits don't exist in isolation. They reveal patterns. And patterns become outcomes. Someone who constantly spends without thinking isn't losing money because of one purchase. They're losing money because they've developed a habit of never questioning where money goes. The issue isn't the coffee. It's the mindset. The issue isn't the snack. It's the automatic spending. And automatic spending has a way of becoming expensive over time. 7. Believing. More income will solve everything. People often imagine that a higher salary automatically creates financial security. Sometimes it helps, but not always, because money problems have a strange way of growing alongside income. The person earning $2,000 thinks life would be easy with $5,000. The person earning $5,000 thinks life would be easy with $10,000. The target keeps moving, the lifestyle keeps expanding, and the financial pressure follows. This is why there are high-income earners living paycheck to paycheck. Income matters, but behavior matters too. Without strong habits, more money simply creates larger financial mistakes. 8. Constantly comparing yourself to other people. Comparison has probably emptied more wallets than people realize. Because comparison creates pressure. Pressure to keep up. Pressure to upgrade. Pressure to spend. You see someone traveling. You want to travel. You see someone buying a new car. You want a new car? You see someone living a certain lifestyle. You feel like you should be doing the same. The problem is that you're comparing your reality to someone else's highlights. You don't see their debt. You don't see their stress. You don't see their financial struggles. You only see what they choose to show. And making financial decisions based on incomplete information is rarely a good idea. 9. Avoiding long-term thinking. Most financial mistakes feel good in the short term. That's why people make them. The purchase feels good today. The payment doesn't feel painful today. The consequences belong to the future. And that's the problem. Because wealth is built by people who regularly think beyond today. They ask different questions. Not, can I buy this? But, how will this affect me later? That single question can prevent countless financial mistakes. Because today's decisions eventually become tomorrow's reality. 10. Chasing every new opportunity. There's always a new trend, a new investment, a new strategy, a new shortcut, a new promise. And many people spend years jumping from one opportunity to another, never staying anywhere long enough to benefit. Wealth often rewards patience, not constant switching, not constant chasing. Patience, the willingness to stay committed to good decisions long after the excitement fades. 11. Thinking wealth is built through big moments. Social media loves dramatic stories. The overnight millionaire, the lucky investor, the massive breakthrough. But most wealth isn't built that way. Most wealth is built quietly. The same good decisions repeated over and over again. Saving, investing, avoiding unnecessary debt, living below your means, increasing your skills, growing your income. The process isn't exciting, but it works. And that's why many people ignore it. Because simple isn't always exciting. Yet simple often wins. 12. Doing nothing. This may be the most expensive habit of all. Not making mistakes, not losing money, not failing, simply waiting. Waiting for the perfect opportunity. Waiting for the perfect income. Waiting for the perfect plan. Waiting for the perfect moment. And while you're waiting, time keeps moving. Months pass. Years pass. Opportunities pass. And one day you realize the perfect moment never arrived. The people who build wealth aren't necessarily the smartest. They're often the people who started. They started before they felt ready. They started while they were still learning. They started while things were imperfect. And because they started, time had a chance to work in their favor. At the end of the day, staying broke rarely comes from one catastrophic decision. It's usually the result of ordinary habits repeated long enough to become expensive. The good news is that wealth works the same way. It isn't usually built through one brilliant move. It's built through small decisions, repeated consistently, for years, because your financial future is being shaped right now, not by what you do occasionally, but by what you do repeatedly. And the habits you choose to keep today may be quietly determining where you'll be years from now.